Hello, my name is Scottrobison, and I am a student of Professor David Christensen's Accounting Ethics class. Today I'll be presenting on moral exemplars in business and elsewhere. First off, we need to know what is a moral exemplar and how to become one. A moral exemplar is simply someone that chooses to do right and is worthy of being copied for it. They have high ethical standards, and we can look to them as examples. And we can become one by simply finding that inherent goodness inside of in every person, the inherent knowledge of what is good and right, versus that which is wrong and evil. If we simply find that inside of us and remember that decision, we can really be a moral exemplar to others and make correct decisions. It's also something we can learn. Those that were in bad situations and vowed not to be that same way, to stand up for what was right in the future, they're basically converts to moral courage, and they learned that that courage is something that you can be gained later in life and can then share to others. A couple examples of moral exemplars are Kim Amy of WorldCom. He worked for them many years before the famous WorldCom crash. He refused to change financial statements and ultimately was fired because of it. It was a very tough time in his life for him and his family, and he suffered many consequences from it, basically for doing what was right and good. And the next one is James Allerson. Allerson worked for a small hospital and blew the whistle on it. They wanted to make 2 sets of financial statements and he wouldn't. And ultimately he also was fired, but it led to a series of events that brought great transparency to one of the biggest healthcare corporations in the nation, and he was commended later at a different employment for his honesty and integrity. Cynthia Cooper is the next one I'd like to talk about. She was the main motivating force in the WorldCom situation, the famous one. She had a very hard time, a lot of stress. She used her family to help relieve some of that stress. She confided in her family and had that support system. And that's the main point I want to make with her is that a support system will go a long ways to give that encouragement that one needs when it comes in these situations. The next one is Sherry Hunt. Sherry was vice president over mortgages in Citigroup. She basically was told in an indirect way that she needed to change the number of defective loans, that the number was too high, and she refused to do so. She was fired. She in turn sued the company and got over $30 million. So in her situation, it really paid off financially. But that's not why she did it. She did it because she knew that's what was right and true. So not all situations end very harshly. Not all situations are famous ones as these ones. The last one I want to talk about is that of J. Ballard Washburn, who was just a young medical student and caught his class pulling out cheat sheets and notes in one of his college classes. And it's very competitive to get in the medical field, and he wasn't going to let them cheapen that and knew it wasn't right. So he stood up in the back of class and said, "I left my hometown and put my wife and 3 little babies in an upstairs apartment and worked really hard to get into medical school, and I'll turn the first one of you in who cheats, and you better believe it." And they did believe it, and they slowly put the cheat sheets away. And later he became a very respected physician and even received special recognition for outstanding service from the Utah Medical Association. It's silent heroes like these ones, and I guess he stood up for what was true, but we don't always hear about them. We don't always see them. They're not the famous ones that we hear about in the news. And that's the majority of the moral exemplars, and that's the ones that you and I can be, are these ones that will stand up for what is right and true, even when fame and glory aren't on the line, and even if no one will ever know about it. In conclusion, I just want to make the point that moral courage is really hard and difficult sometimes, but there's things that we can do to help relieve some of that difficulty. Simply making the decision beforehand, before the pressure is on, of what we're going to do, will help so that when the decision comes, we've already made up our mind. We don't have to make the decision there. Then have a support system. Have people there to rely on. And then be sure to stand up for what is right and true, no matter what other people say, and however they'll judge you. This is what we can do to really help in the moral exemplars, to become moral exemplars. Thank you.